and it's a taste of freedom. Season 4. More interesting, sort of intrinsically likable, fascinating novelty premises coming in at season 4. As a kid, I appreciated some of the... I appreciated the varied and sort of bold premises of season 4. Like, to me, like, an episode just being about Zoidberg and, like, the whole population of Earth wanted to kill him was a very sort of immediate and sort of, I don't know, likable, sort of compelling premise. Or they're them becoming superheroes, or them becoming kids was sort of a very immediate, sort of fascinating premise to me as a kid. Or
sure.
Crimes of the Heart, focusing on like the Earth, this apocalyptic situation and wanting to destroy all the robots.
I forgot that's in this season.
Crimes of the Heart.
Yeah.
We were talking about that the other.
Yeah.
But like like so this is one of those episodes which had a very really likable, just sort of like immediate premise. Like I remember you know, if I'd seen it before, even on like if I'd rented the DVD and I'd seen the episodes on it, like that was one where I was really happy to just watch it again, because I was like, oh yeah, that was a really good one. That's a really fun sort of, you know, you look forward to watching that being played out in front of you again. You know what I mean? This is when you're in year 4, say, and you look, even watching it now, look, it's not the intellectual heights of the show, but I do think it's like a really fun sort of straightforward episode. It's a really fun bash. It's probably, I don't know how many of the free... I think we can identify perhaps free Zoidberg-centric episodes, right?
Cross-Station in Love.
Lobstertainment and this one.
Yeah.
And I think this is... Lobstertainment's a lot of fun, and we get a lot of entertainment value out of that. We championed it, actually, when we discussed it.
Yeah, I like that episode. And Cross-Station in Love, I do kind of like as well.
I like it, but I would say A Taste of Freedom is possibly, in a sense, the more impressive or, like, solid of the three.
Yeah.
I think some of the sci-fi stuff in this episode is fantastic. Well, in terms of like superficial sort of action fare, like just the Decapodian ships and the laser weapons, and then them finding a heat-seeking missile from a museum. There's good stuff in here.
Like they just can invade Earth if they wanted to. I love how in Futurama, even though Earth seemed like the most influential, you know, political, you know,
they just make it seem that way.
They always able to be just invaded, like, you know, like that.
The Omicronians, you know, and then the Decapodians are just as powerful, it seems. Man, how fantastic is that?
No, I love how it's the incompetency of Earth. It's kind of great.
Yeah, Zach Brannigan's in charge, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an incredibly fun episode. Like I find it like tremendously watchable. It's not the most revelatory script they ever put out. But as far as, as I said, a straightforward exercise, I can't find much wrong with it, other than it just doesn't soar to really significant heights, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, it doesn't, because its premise is like, it kind of recognizes its premise is shallow.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
You know, that sort of, it's almost like parodying, like Miss Lisa Goes to Washington, or Miss Lisa Goes, like one of those sort of things, you know, a Simpsons-esque sort of like, America is great sort of episode.
I got you, yeah.
You know, it's sort of parodying that with, you know, Earthic and... that's sort of Futurama's take on America the whole time, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You know, the whole... Earth's a part of the world. Wow, I have been gone a long
That's
time.
a terrific joke, yeah, I like that a lot.
That sort of thing. And this episode sort of plays on that premise, you know? This idea of, like, an American conquering Earth freedom thing. And though it does, like, take the idea of freedom in Zoidberg's sort of, you know, estimation as a serious, you know, part of our human condition in the real world.
Yeah, sure.
Or at least a political reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, attribute that to some, like, American exceptionalism, you know?
No.
It's almost like in the face of that. Almost like a folk idea that it's really the people that make those values, not the nation or the government.
Yeah.
It's sort of... and it doesn't feel the need to state that. It's just sort of implicit in the comedic aspects of, like, you know, I think that's why they give it to Zoidberg, even, you know.
Mm.
The full character.
Yeah. And he's, and again, like this sort of immigrant character who's happy to be there from, like, a homeworld that, you know, very judgmental and sort of just, like, it's tarnished him in a way. I mean, he couldn't find a mate successfully, as we saw in season 2.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to die, basically. Glory, as he saw it. But yeah, like, and it's interesting that you know, the idea of freedom they're pushing is probably most potently observed in the Free Waterfall senior character. I think that's like their idea of like if the show is sort of espousing an idea of what like a traditional American freedom looked like. It was this weird sort of like
the ultra libertarian.
This sort of just like, I don't know, like Tom Bombadil-esque weird rural traveling southerner type who just like does weird idiosyncratic things, and you know, just is like so into freedom that he's like fighting tooth and nail for the right of like Zoidberg to tarnish the flag.
Yeah.
And
It's like tell my wives.
His polygamy is very much frowned upon, of course. And no, it's an interesting idea that you know, these sort of like weird outsiders reminds me of that quote by a great American philosopher lecturer, Rick Roderick, who claimed that in regard to the principles of the United States government, he claimed the Constitution and all that, he claimed, and he's really quoting someone else, of course, the most dangerous values and principles are going to be your own, because someday someone might expect you to be held accountable to them. And so in a sense, like, you know, by positing these values, like you have to wonder how far is that state then going to go in deciding that, you know, asterisking those values where it's peoples who love those values and want to take them seriously are concerned. And in this case, Zoidberg eating the flag did not apply. And then of course, you know, he saved the day, so they decided that actually, you know what, it's all good. So yeah, it's not like a straight, it's not like a serious sort of consistent thesis. It's just a bit of fun, you know.
It's another one of those episodes that is comedy focused.
Exactly.
The comedy's
it has its principles, but it's like, oh yeah, but like, you know, it's just we're just trying to be funny, but we do believe in this.
It's just being a parody, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is another like funny episode as well.
Entertaining, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've always really liked this one.
A lot of visual stuff to like, just good alien sort of invasion action, reminiscent of when aliens attack, or I guess Dead the Earth Stood Stupid in some respects.
Yeah. That's another one where the Earth just gets invaded.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times in Futurama Earth gets invaded. I guess in the movies it also gets bought by the scammers.
And also the
Evo. Oh, that's the whole universe, to be fair.
Oh yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. Thanks.
I'll give Earth that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many other examples there were. Maybe those are the ones in the fourth season run that I recall. I don't know if they were ever made, because the Omicronians tended to be threatening Earth on two occasions, obviously. And
but yeah, just in the case of this episode, like you were saying, it's interesting actually. This episode does have a bit to say about like what the creators think of said topics, but yeah, it's not about that. It's just there to sort of move the comedy through it.
Exactly.
It's sort of yeah. Once again, Futurama shows other shows how to do polemics.
Great point. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the shows after Futurama seem to have been inspired directly by Futurama.
Yeah.
I just don't think any of them do it as well.
No,
like none of those animated shows that people cite, I'm not a fan of. I'm just like, no. Some of them are okay, but like they don't hit me like Futurama does. I'm too old. I'm youngish compared to, I guess, lots of people, but I still feel too old for them, I'm afraid. I did it when almost as a teen. I was somewhat on board, but it also felt like it was a bit too, I don't know, easy. Like a lot of the humor in like Rick and Morty or Archer was just a bit like, the joke was that it wasn't that clever and that it wasn't trying to be subtle and it just like say the thing out loud. And it's just like, that's funny for a moment, but when you're watching it again, it just comes across as a bit smug and unlikable a lot of the time.
Quick. Yeah. It's funny when you first watch it when you're 15, 16, smoking or something, but yeah, like on like the second time you see it, you're like, I've seen this. You know, yeah. It's not as... That's definitely true. Bob's Burgers is a bit like that, though a bit better, I think.
That's okay. I never got into that one too much, but I never had anything negative to say about it either.
I think that the first season of that show, from memory, I quite like, and then after that, it sort of gets a bit shit. But I remember like the first season being like a sort of neat little package. Another show that kind of is like that, because yeah, so many of these adult sitcoms are kind of shit. I didn't mind the Bill Burr one though.
It was a bit too sentimental for me personally.
Yes, it would. That's the problem. It would go into like Ricky Gervais's shows territory, where like by the three quarter mark of the episode, it has to have a sentimental thing. It did fall into that a bit for sure. That was the weakest aspect of it, I think. Easily, which is in all these shows, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it sort of drags a lot of them down.
Yeah,
like even Archer would try to do that, and you're like,
this is meant to be Archer had potential, but yeah, they had a bit of a stride there, but it got a bit too like, I don't know, like it knew what its fan base wanted, and it was just going through their catchphrases and just
like
fishing
said,
for memes and stuff like
trying
that.
to rewatch it, like I even initially I liked the first few seasons of Archer, and upon first watching it, by 4, 5, 6, I'm like, it's getting
I think
old.
people found the Archer Vice season a bit much.
That too. But then like going back after 4 or 5, just being like, this is like worn out. I was like, I thought the early show was pretty good, but having gotten that far through, I'm like, it's not rewatchable, because really the quality doesn't dip that much. It's just you've seen so much of it.
That's an interesting point, because some of the stuff I saw in 6 and 7 was like really strong, because everyone was saying, nah, it gets really good. And so I saw some of those episodes, and they were really good, actually.
Yeah.
But like I just didn't care anymore, if you know what I mean.
You've seen it, yeah. It doesn't do anything new. It just keeps doing the same thing over and over.
And look, I'm someone who, like, even, like, South Park, like, rewatching that, I get sort of tired of it after a while. I find the first, 4 seasons possibly the most endearing.
Yeah.
But then I get a bit tired of it. I can go up to season 6, maybe, because season 6 has, Professor Chaos, and, like, some of that stuff was just, like, on point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, some of the Casa Bonita kind of stuff was just sort of sickly gold, I have to say.
Yeah, I haven't seen South Park in quite a few years, so I might not feel that way if I say watched it right now.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
But I think they're very proud of themselves sometimes, and also sometimes I think they're just overly cynical for its own sort of just like, we don't care, we're not showing, we're cynical, so you can't like poke fun at us sort of thing. So we're like, it's just like, kind of just comes across as just like a coward's way out sometimes, because we don't actually care, but like you've devoted time to building it up in the
making
episode.
A point, there's a few of those.
I don't know what it's just kind of, I don't know, like it's like they're trying to like do that thing they posited in their own episode, have their cake and eat it too, but I don't know if they're pulling that off as effectively as they think they are.
Oh, well, that's about the government.
Yeah, but I think they can apply that principle to themselves a little bit too.
Yeah,
they are trying to have their cake and eat it too, trying to say a message, but like, but we're just a stupid show, like who cares? But it's like but it's not. The first season was just the stupid show. Like it's not the same show. Like,
that's
you
true.
can't say like it's just a stupid show still. Like is you're trying to, it is trying to do something different. Clearly.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. Actually, they're going from Mark Twain to I don't know something a bit more deconstructionist. I'm just trying to think of like Uber American.
Camus? Oh,
because like because like that.
Tension?
Yeah,
that's too far.
They went from fucking Samuel Clemens. Twain.
Yeah.
I've
seen Star Trek.
To Faulkner. Oh right, yeah, I forget his.
No, I was just silly. Yeah. To Faulkner. Okay. Yeah.
And but then still sort of like, and it is an American thing to do to have your cake and eat it too. So they are being the most American show possible conceptually, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's also their thing. Like Team America is just that, right?
I could never get too into it, to be honest.
That's what I mean. It's just like them having their cake and eating it too, being like, oh, Team America, this is us, but then like taking it seriously as well.
Yeah.
Like, or at least the idea of that movie does take the idea of American exceptionalism seriously.
Yeah, and
believe it or not,
it portrays it for what it is in a really sort of candid and sort of unromantic manner, a really very, very brutal manner. But it also just sort of, it doesn't really do anything at the end of the day. It's sort of just like, that's my problem with satire, is a lot of it just kind of just like, it's like, yeah, but you know, it's still going on. You can have your sneering, but like in big little. That it's still happening, like nothing really changes. Like,
that's
you know, like it just seems like, what am I supposed to be impressed by?
That's idiocracy for you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if those guys wrote that movie.
I think that's something to do with Mike Judge, sadly.
Yeah, it's Mike Judge, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, whoever we know as well. People with some talented stuff in the past, at least.
Yeah, and Daria.
No, I was never into Daria's not for me personally.
And Beavis and Butthead either.
That's not my thing. Yeah, I'm not quite old enough for that, I guess. I'm in a weird spot as an age group.
I like the Beavis and Butthead review of the song Stars by Hum. That's about it.
Yeah, cool.
Well, because they just watched the first, 30 seconds. Because the song just opens with one power chord and then, a sustain that goes for 10 seconds.
Right.
And they're like, oh, that was the whole song? Yeah, that was pretty good, man.
Nice.
So I like that idea of, a song just being 10 seconds of,
Yeah, there's no rules that say it can't be that. Whether people like it or not is not a question, but there's no reason it can't be a song.
Yeah.
Why not? Alright. I've got nothing much of interest to say, I think. So
no, just freedom, away.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone, again.